Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this first episode. Sorry that I'm just starting the episode and I'm looking at my phone, but you know how technology works. But good evening, everyone. Welcome to this first episode of the Conserva-Ricans. We're going to do tonight. I have a special guest, a special host. It's going to be my host. Hopefully, we're going to be building into this podcast and we're going to talk about, as I would call ourselves, the Conserva-Ricans. We are conservative in Puerto Rico. We are Puerto Ricans. So this is the Conserva-Ricans. Welcome to this first episode. We are so excited about this. And there is a lot to talk about. And as you hear, we started with salsa because we are Puerto Ricans. We are Boricuas. That's what we do. We dance and we do a lot of stuff. So we're gonna have a really interesting program today for all you guys, and my apologies because I have to set up the technology, and this is a real good budget, which means that we're coming from out of my pockets or our pockets, and we're gonna do that as much fun as we can, and we gotta use the technology. Sorry, because sorry for my English. My braces. I have braces, and even in Spanish, sometimes I don't understand myself. So bear with me in English. Feel free to ask any question, to ask for clarification, especially to me, because English is my second language. But nonetheless, we're going to talk about the elections in Puerto Rico. We're going to talk about what happened in the last 2.5 weeks, the relation with the election of Donald Trump in the United States. How was that going to affect Puerto Rico? And we're going to talk about the conservative stuff that we all wanted to talk about. We wanted to be sure that the conservative agenda is going to be implemented in the island as well as it is in the state. As you all know, the Republicans won in the United States. They have a complete control of the Senate and the House of Representatives. They control the executive with Donald Trump. And President Trump, has been swamping all over with all the nominations, with the different departments. So it's going to be an interesting term. And there's a lot to talk about. I'm still a candidate for prison number 2 in San Juan, Puerto Rico, because they're still counting votes. There's the second part. The counting that they do the night of the event, which is they do all the counting all the ballots for the people who went to the school and submit their ballots, and there's voting by mail and all the kind of stuff, and they're going to do a rundown on all the ballots, and they're going to do the official counting, and that's still in place. And while that's still in place, I consider myself still official candidate, because in my prison specifically, there's going to be a recount, because at the night of the event, the person who won from the PNP, the MPP in English, he won only for less than 100 votes, which means that automatically by law there has to be a recount. Although everything seems to be like with the voting by mail, he probably is going to secure the spot on the position. But that happened also for prison number 3, prison number 2, prison number 4, which means that those positions, even though they are in the hands of the leftists, with the proper count, with all the counts, and even with all the struggles that are happening here and then, and all the indication that there may be some mishandling in the counting at the end, they're probably gonna secure those prisons too. So anyway, with no further ado, I'm going to introduce you to my partner in crime. He's still the candidate for prison number 1, and because he's still counting, even though his prison the advantage was a little bit wide, but he still is a candidate for prison number 1 for Proyecto Dignidad. My brother and partner in crime, in the good crime, conservative,
exactly.
Antonio Santos. Welcome, Antonio. How you doing?
How are you, Gabriel? How are you? It's an honor to be on this our first show, right? This is our.
It's going to be our first show. Hopefully, one of many.
So definitely, I'm excited to be here with you. Definitely, I am. Like you mentioned, I am still a candidate, right? It's still active until the last vote is counted. I'm still potential aspiration for precinct 1 in San Juan. So But it's an honor to be here. We're going to talk about conservative topics. This is going to be a
Right.
great conversation because this is a conversation between us as brothers. And for many who don't know, me and Gabriel, we met in this journey that we both trotted
That's
about.
right.
Right, we both met upon entering Proyecto Dignidad, which is our the only conservative party. Let's be correct. The only conservative party
The only conservative party. That's
in
right.
Puerto Rico. So so we met in this journey, and we created a nice brotherhood and friendship. And now we could talk about these topics that are important to us and should be important to Puerto Rico if you are a conservative, of course.
Of course, yeah. I mean, if you're not a conservative, you're still welcome to join the show and submit your questions.
Oh, of course, definitely.
But we're open for debate any time, any date. That's not a problem for any of us. So we have our one of our contributors, Mr. Samuel Vasquez. But Samuel is saying buonasera in Italian, and well, my wife is Italian, so buonasera, Samuel. But the Italian show is going to come later, maybe later, when I became more proficient in Italian.
Oh man,
I'm not.
You're forcing me to make a Romanian version now.
Yeah.
Okay.
But buonasera in Italian will be la buonasera, Samuel. But yeah, thank you for joining, Samuel. We also I have met Samuel also in this journey, and he's been a contributor, and he's a young guy, a conservative young guy with a lot of stuff. Hopefully, he's immersed in studying right now, but he will join. He probably going to be joining the fight, the conservative fight in a near future. That's for sure. I'll counting on that. So let's start. Just for the English speaking, Antonio. Let's just give a rundown. Just a quick introduction rundown on how was the campaign in terms for us, newbies in politics, and how can we, what was the expectation? Let's say. Because we, as a Puerto Rican, for the English-speaking citizens that are living in Puerto Rico, a little bit of a rundown how the politics was during this campaign for this election that's already ended.
Well, as at least as a newbie, right? This is our first a tryout, a first venture into politics, entering this political stage. So there was a high learning curve. We had to learn things such as messaging, campaigning, which messaging is, should we use this message to proceed? How do we debate this topic? What is the proper overall messaging in the micro and the macro extent? It was also learning your audience. Definitely the audience in the San Juan area, as you know, it's a whole different show versus the other areas, other regions in Puerto Rico. So you get to learn that aspect of where you are with the politics that are taking place in your hometown are very different than what's taking place, for example, in Ponce, which is all the way in the south, or in the west side, Maya West, right? So it's a learning curve of learning all these dynamics, even within the political party. And of course, we're going to make a disclaimer here. All our commentary, all our themes, everything we discuss are from our personal and are solely mine, right? But even within our political party, there's always dynamics with other party members within internal parties. We have all different opinions, different characters, different personalities. So it's a real dance on getting to know your colleagues and how to reconcile our differences so we can work as a collective. During my campaign, it was interesting because I made good friends across the board with different party lines. But and it helped. It helped because it helps you learn. It helps you gain traction on the ground. The expectation of getting into this political journey, it far exceeded what I thought. Because I really like, who knows us, right? We are.
Nobody have no idea. Anybody has any idea who we are, and
exactly
what was our background? Who are you?
Exactly. And and myself getting to know it was almost 430 candidates of people asking who are these people, where do they come from,
Right.
but we were 400 and over 430, I think 430 candidates, political conservatives that were making their first shot. Some of them with previous experience, others are new in this field, but we took the challenge to put up the conservative word out there in Puerto Rico, and my expectations went far beyond what I expected, right? And
And first time in TV.
first,
Yeah.
man, I mean, first time on TV, asking questions. My aspiration wasn't to be on TV,
Right,
but
right.
it's part of the political game. It's part of the experience. It's part of the media and publicity, and we take what we can get. But it was a great experience. Um, but still, it left me hungry, right? Where I still
Mhm.
want to, at some at some point in some other fashion, we still want to put that conservative word out there. So podcasts like this episode that we're sharing, I think is very important. So we could share the political landscape with our English
Right.
speakers and get that gauge.
How you have lived in New York or in the States longer than me. I mean, I have traveled there and I lived there for a few years. But you have lived longer than myself. I just remember just one election and then facing the midterms and stuff like that. How would you compare, let's say, in New York, in which you have the federal, state, municipal levels. There are different selection compared to Puerto Rico, in which everything is comprised just in one single election.
Well, I studied my political acumen, right, began when I was in my master's program in New York City. First of all, I'm born and raised in Brooklyn, in the section of Bushwick, which is part of the district of Nita Velasquez. Go figure. This is
Ah,
her
go,
part. this is this is
go
this is
figure,
this is part of her district. It was
go
her.
figure.
I remember her and Jose Serrano, right? They were the two big
Right.
names in New York City at that
Hmm.
time. Um, but born and raised in Bushwick, Brooklyn. But my political acumen was in New York City. I'll say when I started the master's program in the City University of New York, I was I'm gonna go back to my roots, right?
Right.
I was a union organizer for the SEIU 32BJ, which is a union for janitors and doormen and porters in New York City. So I wanted to learn more about this labor movement. You heard about the labor decline, so I wanted to participate and get to know a little bit more of the labor movement, the public and private sector of unions. Once I joined I didn't join. I was a union member. Then I became a union organizer. I worked with the
Organizer.
union. Yep, a union organizer, and organizer. Then I started working as a part of the political action committee. And let me tell you, I didn't know how strong the political arm of the labor movement is. The political action committee in the labor unions are well structured, well organized, and it doesn't startle me where you get to figure why politics in New York City are so democratic,
Hmm.
so a stronghold is it's so
Right.
embedded. They so fast forward, I went to the City University of New York for the labor studies program, where we got into labor relations and understanding the dynamics of labor unions in the private and public sector. And only then that I noticed that this was an extension of the everything that I was stepping into was an extension of the Democrats. And I worked with the city council, or wherever I went for a union rally, there was a city council member, there was a labor, the CUNY University union, the university unions. I mean, everything was so embedded, and like, there's no room for opinions, there's no room for debates, for another opinion. So that experience in New York City when I was as a union organizer opened my eyes as soon as I wanted to share an opinion and kind of understand the dynamics. I challenged that, and then I was
Right.
blacklisted from the union. Once I challenged every
Go
question,
figure.
no, this awakened. I tell you not, the best thing that happened to me was getting into this CUNY, the City University program, and doing this master's, because if anything I got out of it is understanding the democratic and the liberal movement in New York City, how embedded is in the universities, that wording, that messaging is in the workplace. They live and breathe the democratic structure. It's a political machine. The city council, there was a moment where all the seats minus one were Democrats. So I started challenging these dynamics, and that's when I understood. Wait. There has to be another way of doing things.
And that's what had happened in University of Puerto Rico too. Like the university have became a pool of for this union to recruits. They're working all together with professors. I mean, it happens all over the states, granted, but somehow in Puerto Rico we think that this is not major, and I think this last election shows that it is major. It's already here. People have been warning, conservatives have been warning about this. Granted, I was not a conservative voice. I have never been a conservative voice until now. But I saw this movement, getting grow and grow, and a lot of us, like myself, I also at some point realized that was a cool movement. But when you move from a cool movement to something that is real, and as a conservative, you just want to, you just want to work and go to your home and do your, mind your business. You don't want anybody to bother you. But now it's in our life. That's why then we joined the Proyecto Dignidad party, the conservative party, because it's really a time to fight back.
I agree.
That's really interesting. So let's go to the topics. So the elections in Puerto Rico. Supposedly, the party, the MPP in English is in NPP. The letters.
The New Progressive Party.
The New Progressive Party, and even though they call progressive, they portray themselves as a Republicans, although the party has been controlled by Democrats for a long time. Puerto Ricans, we don't divide ourselves in Democratic or Republican Party. Our parties are mostly, and I'm making this explanation just for people English speaking that maybe don't know that in Puerto Rico the parties are not divided between Republicans and Democrats. They're divided mostly, or most importantly, through their stance on their relationship with the United States, whether they want statehood or they want the current territorial status or they want independence. This party is a promoter of statehood, and they have Democrats and Republicans in there. And for a long time, the majority of their government has been Democrats, and their policy has been Democrats for more than 40 years. Now this governor, the governor candidate, she claimed she is a Republican. She has been a resident commissioner in Congress in Washington, D.C. for 8 years. So my question to you is, in the way that you see it, did the Republican won in Puerto Rico, or this is another crowd of rhinos getting into the government?
This is another crowd of rhinos, and rhinos is pretty much asserting, right, that they're Republicans. We will call them rhinos, and then they be Republicans at heart. They tackle some Republican issues. They have some Republican, I guess, within their platform, some government programs that they kind of similar to what's happening in the states with the Republican platform. But there is nothing Republican at all in Puerto Rico regarding politics. This is the Democrats won, and the numbers show that the Democrats won. I honestly have to say, most of the politics in Puerto Rico is based first with your statehood or the what we call the independence or the status quo, right? That's the forefront of political parties here. That's their hook. Whether you're left wing, right wing, whether you're conservative or progressive, that takes a back seat. It's not usually at the forefront of politics in Puerto Rico. Mm-hmm. But definitely, based in the way the elections go, there is not an inch of Republican work within, unless someone in Proyecto Dignidad gets elected. But you will not see any of that. Nothing conservative about what has taken place in these elections at all.
Yeah, and this current the elected governor, she has been the Republican Party and so on. But in 2016, when the former Ricardo Rosselló, Dr. Ricardo Rosselló, was elected, he was a Democrat, and he wrote in a book, in a recent book that he wrote, that the relationship with the resident commissioner just got destroyed almost, in the first 6 months of in the term, and you may thought that, well, it got destroyed because she's a Republican, or she wants to move forward or to promote a Republican agenda or a conservative agenda. Unfortunately, that has happened also with other Republicans other Republicans have wrote about her in that regards. And now the message was that those mistakes, the New Progressive Party has having this type of offer for more than 40 years. And now they said that they're going to implement a conservative agenda. Um, that will give me to the second the second topic in the tonight's discussion. This per Donald Trump, there's going to be a reduction on the federal funding, or a drawback for funding that was already assigned for different disaster zones. That includes Puerto Rico, of course, and there's going to be a drawback, and Puerto Rico is going to be affected for that. So, do you think my line of thinking is, or my question is, there's going to be a drawback in federal funding. However, as a Republicans or as a conservative, they're going to offer some sort of a tax incentive, or some sort of a bill to promote, manufacture, to promote growth and stability. Do you think the governor and her administration are going to be willing to accept that kind of exchange? I'm going to take back from you all this money that you haven't used in Puerto Rico. It's not her fault. Granted, it's not her fault, but the administrations in Puerto Rico haven't used that money. I'm going to use that money for something else that I have in my agenda. As you may know, as everybody knows, the president has more important topics, much more important topics that are taking care of Puerto Rico federal funding. But in exchange of that, I'm going to give you a special incentive, which is not going to be compatible with a statehood proposal. Do you think can we trust that this administration, this current Puerto Rican administration governor, is going to accept that kind of a deal from the Trump administration?
I honestly believe that Trump is not going to give you that option of whether you accept or not. This is what it's going to be, and this is what you're going to get. I honestly think,
that's a good one.
I think
that's a good one. Yeah,
he's not going to offer a choice. This is what's going to be. Take it and have a nice day. I don't think. I think
that's a good one.
The two political parties that have been in power, who have damaged this island economically, have failed to kickstart an economic program since the elimination of Sector 936, right?
Right.
After 936, the phase out, there hasn't been anything that has taken its place. There's no economic development regarding startups, regarding STEM. There has been any progress regarding how we could build our economy if not for federal funding. Federal funding has been a bubble in Puerto Rico economics.
Right, that's completely right. Yeah.
So our economy has been totally subsidized, and so honestly, taking away the federal funding or minimizing or as what I think, you're going to have more fiscal and more oversight. I think Trump is what's going to go and see is probably like, what are you guys doing over there? Why haven't you used this money? You have this federal aid, you have necessities, and you're still not using it. Do you need it? I guess you don't need it. Okay, and instead, of course, he's going to propose anything. I don't think he's the type that would just he's economically driven. He's not here to give you crutches. He's here to help you build, give the island the tools so it could grow economically and independently. But we don't have a government or a structure or a mindset that's capable of doing that. And I think that clash of what Trump expects from his states and his territories and what our government is able to do or provide or even conceive, Um, I don't think this government is ready yet to see this type of administration. They're not prepared. The impact, I think we'll be able to absorb any cuts of regarding taxes. I think it's our own, when I say our fault, it's our own doing, the government doing of
Right, right.
poor management. We have poor administration. We bankrupt the island with under 72 billion. I mean, what do you expect for the states to see when they look at Puerto Rico? You know, what do we bring to the table?
Right, right. So, yeah, I think in that line of thinking, I mean, what I wanted to see, if it's, and granted, I've been in Puerto Rico longer than you, um, but what you're saying is completely true. I mean, this administration is not going to have an option. They're not gonna be able to go and say, well, let's see what we do, or let's see what we think, or let's see, let's see how I can accommodate. Or, hey, Mr. President, let me accommodate this in a way that I can, that I can try to play politics with it in some sort of sense, because he's a businessman. This is no Joe Biden. This is not George Bush. This is not
No,
even George. It's not even Ronald Reagan, who at least has some sort of experience in government before became president. This is a president whose first experience in politics in government is precisely the presidency. So, Rosanna, just a small pause, a big hug and a big hi to Roxana Ortiz. She was
Rosanna.
our representative in district number 35 there in Humacao. So, thank you for joining. Thank you for
Thank
joining
you.
us, our sister in all this role too. So back to what I was saying. I think it's going to be they're not going to have any option.
No.
They're not. She's not going to be willing to. There's no way to. There's no way to try and turn this around. This is
No.
what it is, and you need to tell Puerto Rican what it is, and the politicians in Puerto Rico has been lacking the honesty, sorry, to say, hey, this is what it is. This is what we need to do. There's not going to be more of this social warfare. There's not going to be about we can be dependent of this federal funding. This federal fund is going to be cut. We're gonna get money. We're gonna get money in Puerto Rico, but it's gonna be in the form of working. We're gonna have to go and work. So
Exactly.
it's a good stance. It's gonna be interesting to see. We're gonna of course. The difference in Proyecto Dignidad is that last term, Lizzie and Joan, the party only post about 20, 29, 30 representatives between municipal, legislative, and another position, another post all over the island. This time, the more than 420 people joined the party and run as a candidate. So now they're going to have spokesperson all over the island talking about all the same topics. So I think, in line of what you're thinking and complementing of what you said, this time the PNP, even winning, are in some sort of a losing strain, because they have so much power. There is no excuse. They control the executive. They control the legislative. They even have ideologically. They even have majority of Supreme Court justice that they already appoint in the state in the Puerto Rico Supreme Court. They're going to have 3 spots that they're going to appoint in this term. So there are no excuse. And now there is a conservative party that they cannot BS about it. We're going to call it how it is. And that's going to be a big difference for the new progressive party. It's going to be really interesting
Exactly.
what is going to happen in there. So
just a
yeah,
quick
tell me.
note, just a quick note. What you mentioned, my line of thinking goes in the sense of how President Trump operates. He is solution.
Right.
He's solution driven. He wants to know what are you bringing to the table. What solutions are you bringing? What are you doing for your Puerto Rico's economy? Are you building it? Are you what are you doing for your people? And other than federal funding, which has always been the conversations that take place in Washington, when are we going to bring something to the table and say, listen, we are growing economically. This tax cut won't even affect us because we have grown exponentially regarding pharmaceuticals, tourism. Like, what are we doing? And that question is going to be asked uh, frequently to this new administration, because across the board they have the Senate, they have the House.
Right.
There is no excuse, regardless of the resident commissioner. Um, we want to see what they're going to bring to the table with this administration because they have yet to face a president like a Trump administration.
Uh, Roxana said here that she would love to attend the discussion. So count on that, Roxana. We're gonna invite you for the next
Absolutely.
conversation. We just started broken. We're breaking out today. So count on that. We're gonna count on you. We need more voices for this conservative
Yes,
discussion
we do.
for sure. The Daily Star, the San Juan Daily Star, showed an article last week, basically showing a generation that struggle, and basically what it said is that the young people are struggling with either with jobs or entrepreneurs trying to break, try to come up and create, and try to create activity, economic activity, and of course the regulations, the permits, all that kind of stuff, and they're pointed that out, even though there was a report also from human resources from the labor department that supposedly the manufacturers, I mean, sorry about the quote, this is an official position, this is an official official report. So if they said that the manufacturing is growing, let's say it's growing, I mean, it could be BS, but what kind of manufacturing, and then that require a more deeper analysis. But anyway, but still, I think that Puerto Ricans, the problem, not only with Puerto Ricans, but this generation don't want to be an 8 to 5 Monday to Friday type of employee. They don't want to follow instruction. You are a manager in a hospitality, in a hotel, and you have trouble finding people who want to work, and try to build from the bottom up. Now we're not gonna have an option. Now we have a president who said we are not gonna give you all this more social welfare. The Puerto Rican government doesn't have the money to establish a social welfare, and this go back again to the same thing. Are the young generation are going to be forced to go out to work, or or do you think they're going to still are going to be pulling, the putting a barrier to go with that wave that the President Trump are going to implement it now from the federal government?
Well, this is a matter of mindset, right? This is all mindset issues.
Right,
So
right.
this federal funding, this dependency on federal funding, um, you cannot. There's not the right soil to
Hmm.
where entrepreneurship doesn't stem from that. You cannot. You basically create out of necessity, and you need a sense of hunger and necessity to
Right,
stimulate entrepreneurship, to be creative. I take that from my in-laws who came from Romania with nothing, and when they came
right,
to this country, they didn't. I mean, the U.S. My wife is from Romania, Bucharest. Just a disclaimer. When they came from Romania to the U.S., they don't have a clue of what is government help. They came to work. The mindset was, if you don't work today, you don't eat, and that's been the mindset since day one. So in Puerto Rico, it's not whether a Trump administration or whatever comes afterwards. Our problem is our mindset. Are we developed to tackle what the world demands? And what you mentioned earlier was regarding the change of dynamics. Yeah, no more Monday to Friday. One of the issues that I had working as a union organizer was that I could foresee how most of these jobs were going to be replaceable. So, for
right,
example, I was
right,
a union leader. I was a what they call a union delegate for the doorman, a doorman, and I always mentioned and always said to the unions, like, a doorman could be replaced by a deadbolt and a camera. There goes your job. In hospitality and hotels, the same thing. I deal with it in Puerto
right,
Rico, right? The front desk agents could be easily replaced with which they are. you do a check-in. Actually, this kickstarted with JetBlue. JetBlue started their own kiosk where you just print your own tickets, you check yourself in, check your bags. You don't even have to deal with an agent, right? Hotels are going the same routes. How do we prepare for this type of dynamic and technology? Technology does not stop for anyone. It wasn't a taxi driver that created Uber. It wasn't a Blockbuster employee that created Netflix. Uh, these are. It wasn't the hotel business that started Airbnb. These are people that find opportunities based on necessity. So in Puerto Rico, coming back to Puerto Rico, what will kickstart that necessity, that feel of, man, we got to really get it together and and do something and start building, whether it be banking, financing. There's so many other markets, but we gotta break off those shackles of federal funding and social welfare that's not letting us sprout and flower out, right? The
Right.
younger, and not only the younger generation, I think generations across the board are having a hard time because if you don't have an economy that's growing, you're not gonna have affordable housing. You're gonna have no housing. The food costs are up. Um, Healthcare is collapsing. The healthcare the infrastructure is collapsing. The roads are not. I
Completely.
mean,
Yeah.
everything collapses if you don't have a strong economy. So it's not only about the younger generation. I think it's across the board. In my age, Generation X, or across the board, other generation, we are all facing the same, and that's
Right.
because if we don't develop, if we don't foster economic development across the board, we are just going to be highly dependent on federal funding, and sadly, that's not as a conservative, I'm not going out in that fashion.
Right, right, right. Funny. It's funny what you mentioned about your in-laws from Romania. My in-laws are from Italy, and they met in Canada, but it's the same mentality, exactly the same mentality. If I don't work, I don't eat. It's as simple as that. They didn't care about the language. They didn't know. I mean, they didn't know the language. They didn't know the laws. They didn't know where they're gonna stay. They didn't know if they're gonna go. If they're gonna be under a canopy or where they're gonna sleep. All they knew is that if they don't work, they don't eat. That's
That's
all.
that's
That's all.
that's it.
That's all it took, and they built everything. So our next topic is a little bit, a little bit of an analysis from a political perspective. Talking politics, let's say, because the U.S. Senate just include in the bill right after the election. They include Puerto Rico in the farm bill, and this is the first step in order to put Puerto Rico into the SNAP program. For those who doesn't know, the SNAP program is a program that combines work with social benefits for food. It's a full food for the people who can afford, in distress areas or people with low income areas. In Puerto Rico, we have been having that since the late '60s, beginning of the '70s. My father used to have those. I remember having those checks and being part of those programs. And but this kind of program has been in the state for a long time. It's not. I mean, it became more and more wide, especially in Republican states where they have increasing the requirements for people working in order to get this federal benefits. Because like everything, like conservatives said and the Republicans said, no, there's no such thing as a free lunch. Everything has a cost. So somebody's paying for that money. That money may be given to you for free, but it's not free money. Somebody's paying it. So now they finally include Puerto Rico in that farm bill, and it's going to be a first step. And now you see now you see both the governor and one of the senators in Puerto Rico saying that they have been working so tirelessly since 2017 to educate congressmen and congresswomen in the states about the importance of Puerto Rico being in there, and now they're claiming as a victory when we all know that people who have been following U.S. politics for a while, and especially from Puerto Rico, we all know that the Republicans hold this inclusion in this farm bill in the summer, because this farm bill was put in place in the summer before the fiscal year closed in June 30. and they didn't include it because they didn't want to give, it was an election year. They didn't know if Joe Biden finally is going to be running. They didn't know if they're going to be replaced. They didn't know. I mean, they were known for. They did know for sure that the possibilities of Donald Trump winning the White House are for them to control the Senate and the House of Representatives. It was going to be big, so they didn't want to give political talking points to the opposition. In this case, the Democrats. This is regular stuff. This is regular politics in the States. I'm not saying anything new. Any regular U.S. citizen in the States understand that. But in Puerto Rico now, politicians claim this as a victory. That's something that they did, and of course, the people who are doing that is people who promote the statehood. Have you seen have you seen something like this in the political establishment in the state? Like, I know. Politics is BS no matter what and no matter where. But this amount of disingenuous in the talking politics. Have you seen something like that? There's something that you can compare in the States related to public policy?
I've never heard of a state celebrate SNAP as a win. I've never heard that. Listen, New York City, we'll debate tax abatements, we debate rent control, we debate when it comes to social assistance programs.
Right.
It's rarely on the table of discussion. Mostly, they always agree on passing these federal assistance programs, these blocks as we call them in Puerto Rico, right? The blocks,
right?
And be included in the Farm Bill. It's not a win. Actually, this triggers back to what we were talking about in the previous conversation regarding our mindset of developing economically. And SNAP is not doing anything for us economically other than establishing another federal funding, be a part of a federal programming, which is a talking point. It's being politicized by the New Progressive Party, of course. They say that, look, we were able to gain, and this is a big.
This is an accomplishment. This is an accomplishment,
which is sad. And we show that we are presenting that as an accomplishment, and it's very sad. I think it's very pathetic. I wouldn't celebrate that as a win for anybody. I think we're going backwards. Mind you, do people need it? I have no qualms about it because it is an assistance program, and Republicans are very clear. These are assistance programs, which is why. Like you mentioned, there's no such thing as a free lunch, right? These are programs that are meant to assist you in your path to growth, if possible, of establishing, getting your feet on the ground, right? But in Puerto Rico, it's just part of that bubble that we live in economically. It's part of the what we call the subsidized economy that we have.
Yeah, but also in that regard, they're going to have how are they going to manage the public relation in the sense that they need to tell the people, hey, we're going to get more money, but now we're going to have to work even though we're getting that money.
Yeah. They forget they got to equally.
We're going to be equally. This is what I was saying, that sometimes by winning you also can lose if you don't know how to handle it. Because now, for 50 years, the New Progressive Party has promoted statehood as a good thing for the poor people, for the people who can't get out of of poverty, for people living in distress area, the victims, the victimhood mentality. Oh, this is the victims. We're here to help you. Well, you're gonna have more money, but you need to work.
Yes.
You're gonna have to go to work. And there are people already working. There are people already working who can't have access to healthcare because they're working on the federal, in order to get to federal funding and federal benefits, they don't meet the requirements. And now they're gonna meet the requirements, but it doesn't mean that you're gonna stop working. You're gonna continue working. So how this is gonna be super interesting.
There's a cost. There's also
there's going to be a cost. Yeah, there's going to be a cost. Even for me. I'm saying for us in the conservative movement, we want to help people. We want to help all of them. as much as we can. But we also trying to tell the truth, like, hey, listen, I want to help you, but you need to help yourself. It's a two-way transit path. It can't be just me helping you using other people's money.
Well, this is where we differ in philosophies with the New Progressive Party, which is from the first question of the RINOs won. Yes, the RINOs won because a proper conservative. I have no doubt that Javier Jimenez, who was the candidate for governor for Proyecto
Right.
Dignidad, he had a great platform, a government plan that
Yeah.
will lift everybody, stimulate the economy, the
Hmm.
workforce, tax incentives. Like there was anything that we foster as far as a conservatorship
Right.
that
Right.
stimulates the workforce. Let's empower the workforce. This
Mhm.
program does totally the opposite. And
Completely.
second, and the cost, what I mean by cost also is implementation costs, because now we have to replace all these
Right.
terminals. There's
Right.
a
Right. Right.
and if I'm not mistaken, the cost of installing these terminals in all the supermarkets and all the stores is going to be split
Right.
between the government and Puerto Rico, and you're going to have
Yeah.
another cost, another added um, hit that's totally unnecessary.
Right.
But they're celebrating this as a win, so I guess for them this is part of yeah. What
Yeah,
can
and
I say?
then and this subsidy is gonna increase, but it's not gonna go to the Puerto Rican agriculturist, a person in who have a piece of land, and he's making, cultivating papayas or pineapples or avocado or stuff like that. It's gonna go to the to the multinationals that I mean, the reason why I had this discussion with some people back in the summer, because the way this implementation actually is beneficial to Republican farmers, especially in the Midwest, because these are the people who supplies us all these multinational companies, these big companies. I don't want to mention names, but those one that you pay a membership, and you buy,
Mm-hmm.
in bigger quantities. But it's not necessarily. I mean, it's going to be an incentive to the economy, because people are going to have a little bit more money to go and buy. But still, people have to work, and we have a population of people that are already used to, and like you said, are used to the welfare benefits without working. And how are we going to tell them? Because those people are going to reveal, and they have to be firm. They have to say, well, this is what it is, and this is what it is, and we're going to continue going into that. And the opposition are going to keep, increasing um, the populist agenda of, they need to give more.
Of course.
So, and then then we pass to the nominations. Out of all of the nomination, of course, the one of Robert Kennedy Jr. is the one that it was the most interesting for a lot of conservatives, especially those who are, concerns about, or have been concerns about food, about the FDA, about the healthcare system. Um, how do you see? Well, first of all, how do you see this nomination for the Human and Health Service at a federal level?
Well, this is what you mentioned earlier, right? This is we got to go back towards how Robert Kennedy Jr.'s nomination and winning SNAP go hand in hand. The reason why is
Right,
okay. Right now,
right,
SNAP is not synonymous with nutrition or
right,
eating healthy. Here we have Robert Kennedy, who's an advocate who questions, and the reason his nomination is very controversial is because here you have someone who questions, right? And of course, the establishment does not like questioning, whether it be the vaccine. He's always claimed that he's not a non-vaxxer. He's just questions certain vaccinations, certain methods, certain approvals. He's challenging the establishment of big pharma, right? So of course he's
right,
not popular within Democrats, right? However, he's a big champion, and of course, your wife from Italy, right, and Canada. My wife is from Romania. The quality of food, they don't allow food coloring. They don't allow red color.
none of them.
There's
Yeah,
there's there oh geez, GMOs. They are
no,
strictly organic driven, and that's what Robert Kennedy wants to bring into the HHS, right? Um, so how does that change dynamics in SNAP? I remember seeing people buy
Right.
in Puerto Rico with what was not the SNAP card, but similar fast food.
Right. Right.
Okay, so one thing is nutrition is totally not included in when it comes to the terminology within SNAP. There's nothing regarding nutrition and health. Here you have Robert Kennedy, who's highly driven and highly focused in that. He's gonna represent the farmers. I remember one day I used to go to farmers market in New York, and they would be banned on selling raw milk. They would be banned on selling
Yeah.
certain meats because it's so highly regulated by the FBA. And here you have Robert Kennedy, who's a champion of local farming. He wants to stimulate farming locally, promote proper, good, great, clean food, clean
Hmm.
meats, and he wants to flip this food pyramid, this food pyramid, which is totally backwards. Um, he wants to change this um, what we know now as what's nutrition and what is not. He's going to shake the whole establishment when it comes to nutrition regarding health, and the SNAP program is going to be his first tackle because if you notice, um, and it's probably going off topic, but in New York and Puerto Rico, excuse me, we have two issues. We have consumerism and we have
Right.
obesity, okay, which
Right.
go hand
Right.
in hand. So there is a big nutrition issue in Puerto Rico, and so if SNAP is going to be part of the conversation, which Robert Kennedy now is going to participate on, it's going to be it's going to be interesting to see. Um, I don't know. I'm excited to see what I mean. Across the board, all of Trump's nominations are going to be challenging the establishment.
Oh, that's for sure.
Even
Yeah.
Dr.
Well,
Oz with the Medicaid.
oh, Dr. Oz. Yeah. It's gonna be Dr. Oz. Yeah.
But yeah,
No,
I'm
it's
excited. I'm excited with Robert Kennedy though.
he's swamping. He's swimming. I mean, he's swinging like really hard. He's swinging for the fences because, contrary to 2017, he doesn't have to be he doesn't have to be aware of an upcoming election. For Donald Trump,
No,
there's no more election. All this BS that they're talking about the Constitution, it's just talking nonsense. Everybody knows the Constitution is clear. You cannot be president more than 2 terms. It doesn't matter if it's said specifically or not specifically. I'm sure that even this current Supreme Court that Trump got three nominees there and appointed three justices in the Supreme Court, they're going to rule. There's no way that Trump is going to run again. So he's not going to be you know cautious, let's say. He's not going to be cautious about an upcoming election. He's going to do in these first 2 years with control of the Senate and on the House. I mean, granted, especially in the House, the control is minimal. He doesn't have the 60 votes in the Senate, but he still got like a lot to run. And he's gonna this first 2 years are gonna be like swinging all over. Like it's gonna be a full swing all over to the fences. And
I
in the case of Robert Kennedy, he's saying make America healthy again. I'm
okay.
saying make kitchen great again. Everybody should go to the kitchen.
Listen, when your kitchen cabinet starts resembling
Right,
a supermarket, there's a problem, right?
right, right,
And
right.
I think he's there to change. Another thing that's shaking with Trump's nominees are that you have people that have no need to be in
Right,
politics. They just
right,
want to
right.
serve the country, and that really it changes dynamics for the opposing party. Why? Because when you have
That's
people
scary for
like
the establishment. Yeah,
it is because what they want is transparency. They want to put out there this is the honest truth of what's going on. And when you have people that don't have any need or dependence of the government, they're here to serve the people. I think we could have and like you mentioned, yes, Trump cannot win another election, right? He cannot run the third election, right?
mhm,
But he's setting the base work. He's setting the groundwork of the kind of government that's going to be effective and
right,
efficient for the U.S. and Puerto Rico should take note
right.
of what's taking place.
And it should be important also to spreading the word, the conservative word, the low taxes, the working stuff, because the opposition are going to come, also swinging back. They're going to swing back. They're going to point at everything, and we cannot allow the control, the populist control, because if everything in Trump in this term is going in the right way, we're going to have a bright future. Once this generation realize that working is better than being dependent, we're going to have a bright future. So we have the voting by mail. We still have our own count and stuff. But I just wanted to ask you, where are the 50 million votes that Joe Biden has over Kamala in 2020? He had like 81 million votes, and Kamala barely get to 67. Where are those people?
They went back in the caskets.
It's
all I can say. They listen, man. I mean, I remember that election where Trump was leading. I went to bed, and when I woke up, he lost, and right. by a large margin. And like, where did this happen? Right, those 50 million votes. That's quite interesting, right? This is all thing where we had spoken about this topic with the mail-in. No
ID, no voter ID. No.
I mean, what's funny now is, if I'm not mistaken, in Pennsylvania, they stopped voter counts because they actually acknowledged that there is room for fraud or electoral fraud, where back 4 years ago they actually denounced Trump for saying those same words, right? Oh,
right.
He doesn't believe in the electoral process. Now they're actually seeing that Trump is winning across the board. So now they're saying that that there's a possibility of electoral fraud, and we need to stop the count. Of course, this is because Trump is winning in Pennsylvania, won by Pennsylvania,
big time, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised, and it's not discussed. It's not being brought up. It's not being discussed. That margin of that big margin difference of 50 million votes. All of a sudden, where are they? Especially in a moment where was it COVID? There was no COVID. There's no reason why you couldn't go out there and vote again. So it raises questions. But I think that this was the election. This is the election that Trump needed. He needed people to go out there and get the vote out, and that's they responded. Let's not also forget about the Latino vote that stood up.
Right,
Hispanic vote.
Right,
they made a big difference. I mean, now we're being denounced as, if you've seen the different media now, Latinos are racist now. We're racist.
Oh no,
we didn't support Trump. Yeah, we didn't support Kamala.
I'm waiting for the new name is going to be the white Hispanic supremacist.
Yes,
these are the
people. We just can't win, right? It's just there's no never ending for them. But
between make kitchen great again and the new white Hispanic supremacist, that's going to be a hell of a hashtag. So
no, we can't win.
Actually, I'm going to put it in the comment. Okay, let's put make kitchen
great again. Man.
Great again. And also we're going to use white Hispanics supremacists.
That's it. Yep. That's. Yeah. These are the.
I have to use supremacists. That's going to be the two hashtags of tonight. That's going to be our support.
Yes. This is going to be.
This is going to be our support for the. That's going to be our support for the internet. For the internet and the hashtags. We're going to do them. Make kitchen great again, and the white Hispanics supremacists. So you see, YouTube rejected my comment. So yeah,
of course, why not?
Well,
I'm not surprised.
I'm sorry, YouTube. I apologize. I do not mean it. I just having some jokes. So I'm sorry about that.
But
But
what
yeah,
else?
it's ironic. It's ironic that that's how they call that's about that's what about they're gonna call us now.
That's the new narrative now. That's the new narrative.
Yeah.
But I'm excited to see how this administration, the Trump administration, is gonna kickstart in January. Uh, I was in New York for the first 4 years, and it was quite challenging where things were getting out of hand because he was getting attacked from all angles, and the first 4 years it was his first stint as president. So now that you have 4 years of a break where he was able to see what worked, what didn't work, and what the Democrats left behind, now he's going to be able to hit the ground running, and that's why he's getting here with all his nominations. I think this is going to be a great step forward for the U.S. And you're actually seeing it now. People are dancing
Right.
in the
Right.
UFC. I think
Right.
people have changed the tone. I think they're realizing have awakened. And
In
saying,
all
"Listen,
sports, the dancing. So going into in all sports. It's
listen, man. I'm from New York. I've known Trump since I was since
it's
living in New
so
York.
dumb.
Trump, okay. So all of a sudden they try to create this character, but
Yeah.
I guess one of the questions, being a host as a host with you, one of the questions that I wanted to ask you is, and I'm sure people are going to ask us regarding. So where do we go from here as uh, candidates for Proyecto Dignidad? Uh, where will we be heading? Where's our next plans? What do we plan to do? And as far as the do's, the don'ts, what has been the learning process of Proyecto Dignidad during this election cycle?
Yeah, that's the closing argument. Yeah, the party roles in this 4 years is going to be getting in the face of the conservative agenda. Um, we will see how everything plays out. The party has to reorganize, but for sure, like I said at the beginning, our two candidates elected to the legislative branch, Joan Rodriguez Beves in the Senate and Lizzie Burgos in the House of Representatives, they are both of them are going to have most spokesperson in this term. We all going to be, cheerleading the bills. Both of them, are for sure, are going to try to introduce bills that should be approved or should be receiving by the majority of the caucus of the New Progressive Party with open arms.
Of course, the
They
Republicans,
they,
right?
they said, yeah, they said, it's Republican helping other Republicans. So we'll see how that's gonna go. We for sure have things that we need to handle ourselves. I think the experience was good enough to reorganize the party. There's a lot of work to do. We can't expect. I mean, that's what we wanted, but also these parties the three major parties has been in place in politics for more than 60 years. Actually, the New Progressive Parties is the younger one of them, and they already have 70 years in the political field, being in government a lot. So we have a lot of work to do. But with the Trump administration, as you have portrayed in this conversation, that they're not going to be they're not going to be a sugar coated pill. It's going to be like, hey, this is it, take it or leave it. So when that happened, and if the administration start to become vague in their terms and they want to play both sides, we're going to be right on their face. We're going to say, hey, this is the conservative agenda. You committed to that in your program. I'm sure there are topics in both party programs that are that we have in common, because they claim they are conservative. I doubt it. I have no doubt that they are not, but that's what they portray. So we're going to test it. That's for sure. We're going to test it. The opposition are going to speak about the same thing, the leftist thing. If they need us to be a loud spokesperson in favor of that, if they go that way, I don't have any problem to support the conservative agenda if they actually implement it. but they have to implement it. That's what we're holding them accountable. And I see already for the English speaking people, they are not seeing it, but for the Spanish speaking that we're seeing already in what's happening in place, we are seeing already the new progressive party saying, "Oh, we have to work for everybody, and we have to work towards everybody, and we have to include people from all different ideology." Listen, that's what has opened the door to leftists and socialism and social democratic policies. That what got us to this polarization. They need to be strong, and the party Proyecto Dignidad has to be strong about it, and we need to swing with them as hard as we can.
I agree. I think one of the I don't want to call them mistakes in the sense of this is where we try out different things, right? And we're a new party, and one of the major things that I noticed was um, Puerto Rico is fairly new when it comes to debating topics regarding what's a conservative, what's a right wing, left wing. This is a new way of politics for Puerto Ricans. Everything has always been based on our status, our political status. So
Right.
understanding what we are, what we represent as conservatives, which is our presentation. That's our face as far as what we stand for. And second will be the political status. That messaging needs to be stronger because that's where we got lost in that conversation. Yeah, you're conservatives, but are for statehood or are you for independence? That's where most of the messaging was lost. Um, so we definitely have to. We have a great conservative program. We have a great conservative agenda. Uh, the messaging, putting in the groundwork, the forums, educating the people about what it means to be a conservative and understanding these dynamics. We have a lot to work on. Um, Good thing is we have political parties that have been in power for over 70 years or 80 years, and we already have they laid a sort of a blueprint of okay, this is what worked, this is how they were able to put forward. Now we are taking the lead. We're going to take a torch. We have a great messaging of what it is to be a conservative, and I think that we will be able to make an impact. But as you mentioned, we have to come out swinging. We cannot be soft. We have to put forward. We had a lot of great. Uh, Javi Jimenez had great political debates,
Absolutely,
topics. He
absolutely.
he
Yeah,
had he had so many areas where he could have attacked, but yet everything was brought towards socialism and communism, and this is where the New Progressive Party look as heroes, right? Look, I think I mentioned to you there's this podcast that I was watching where they said, "Oh, the right wing won." And I've always questioned there is no right wing in Puerto Rico that won. This is
right.
just
That's right.
so
That's right.
it's just the lesser of two evils, right? So I think that the conservative agenda is something that we will continue to push forward. And as far as on a personal level, I plan to partake. If not with you, we create some forums. We could create some forums or conversations, we could present in different places, and then invite people to understand what is the conservative movement. And I don't know, it's going to be interesting to see. But let's see what happens. It's going to be interesting 4 years.
That's right. That's right. I appreciate it. I appreciated that. I'm sure. I'm sure we gonna get it reorganized and in San Juan and all over Puerto Rico. This campaign was great. I mean, people already saw, got a taste of what politics means, and in terms of us, the people who present ourselves as a candidates, and yeah, as everything has its ups and downs, but we learn. I think we learn a lot. I think a lot of people are pretty heavily committed. The party grew up. The party grew up because people don't realize that this thing because everybody's focused on the main the main candidates, which is the governor, commissioner resident, and the legislative and some the mayors in the municipality and who get the majority or so on. But we're gonna have about between 12 to 15 municipalities in which we arrive, in which we got the second place or the third place, which means that we're going to have a municipality legislative person in there. So by that, we only have one in 2020. Now we're going to have around, we could probably end up with 20 or 21 people. Could be less, could be more. We don't know. But even if we ended up with 10, that's 1,000% increase already.
Listen, we have votes that we could go and see. And listen, if whatever votes you got, if you have 1,000 votes, Ponce has, let's say, 100,000 or 10,000, whatever number it is. These are 10,000 or these are votes that we could actually foster and grow and work. And we could work these people that voted for us. We could make these numbers work and amplify them for 2028. Of course, I think, as they mentioned, right, we got to go to the schools, we got to hit the universities, we got to set up debates. One of the things that worked for the right wings and for the conservatives in the U.S. were debates, because once you debate narratives, you it's hard to debate a narrative, right? But creating some debate forums are great, because that's where you put your policies to work. And I think, was it when Sebastian put there, right? Go to the schools and universities. Big time. Big time. Big
time.
That's something we should focus on, definitely.
Yeah. All right, man. That's it for tonight. I mean, we can continue go on, but it's already over the hour, and we have other stuff to do, because, like I always said, we are working people, so we got a lot of stuff to do. This has been really interesting, man. Thank you for joining me tonight. Luckily, this is the first of a lot one. And if you are joining us, if you're joining this in this streaming, whether you were live or you are seeing it after, this is the first of a lot of other discussion. And me and Antonio, we're going to try to build up onto these topics and continue talking about these topics in for the English speaking people, and also for the people overseas who wants to know about what is happening in Puerto Rico and get a sense of what we're getting there. I appreciate, Antonio, that you get tonight with me here.
No, it's an honor, man. It's great to be here, and this is what we need, right? We need honest conversations and just engagement, and definitely we invite people to watch and participate. And this is the first of many, right? And we gotta keep working this platform. We gotta keep putting in the work, so we can make things happen here in Puerto Rico.
All right, man. God bless you. God bless everybody. Remember, as I said in Spanish, if we strengthen the individual, we strengthen the family. If we strengthen the family, we strengthen the community. If we strengthen the community, we strengthen the municipality. And if we strengthen the municipality, we're going to strengthen the territory, state, country. God bless you, everybody. We'll see you on the next one. And the music is going to come. So
that's it.
Don't go yet.